fighting just another political rival. And it turned out they were actually fighting a mafia. That it is their words, it's not my word. What you call the syndicate, the Central Security Forces, along with Election Commission officials, visited different villages. By-election with which Shatrughan Sinha got elected, Babul Supriyo got elected as Trinamool Congress. The backbone of the BJP organization is the RSS. Now organizing, Vishwa Hindu Parishad started reorganizing, Bajrang Dal started reorganizing, and although there is still some, I would say, lacuna in the coordination between the RSS and the BJP, this time the entire organization of officials, accompanied by the Central Security Forces and local police forces, it creates a different kind of an atmosphere. Trinamool Congress, just as a vote bank, even their welfare needs were not taken care of. That they are going to vote for the BJP, I think that the voters must be feeling more assured than they were earlier. At the apartments of Kolkata, they are setting up booths right on the ground floor of the apartments.
उससे हिंदुओं से हमको like division और बढ़ गया हमारा like
the ISF and the Aam Janata Unnayan Party of Humayun Kabir are going to make a dent in the Trinamool Congress's vote bank. It will go to the Humayun Kabir's alliance with AIMIM for this careless or callous nature of Hindu Bengalis. They actually play a patient and long-term game. They are never in a hurry to wrest the control of a state. You have seen how many RSS Swayamsevaks have been killed in Kerala. Because during the 1970s, when the JP movement was on, and a lot of Swayamsevaks and members of the Bharatiya Janasangh, the previous avatar of Bharatiya Janata Party, they were incarcerated or they had to go. They had held 9 judicial officers hostage. This time, they are going whole hog. They are going, all out Hindutva. Conspiracy theories, such as by Rajiv Dixit, for example. Rajiv Dixit did not belong to the BJP or the RSS. When he had risen really big time, he was using the platform of Baba Ramdev. His Bharat Swabhiman of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was vandalized.
Right.
It was desecrated. At the most inopportune moment, the interview of Mohan Bhagwat on reservations was released. But then the scandal of Me Too broke out against MJ Akbar, who was supposed to head that wing. Operation Sindoor is an act of the government of India, not the act of Bharatiya Janata Party. 2 women officers addressed the press, followed by the heads of each wing of the defense forces. We also damaged their F-16 aircraft. The BJP was extremely against the civilian nuclear deal between Manmohan Singh and George Bush. But when they came to power, they did not annul that agreement.
Correct.
It is going on. Myanmar does not protect its borders very well, I think, and they do not even perceive a threat from India.
Right, namaste viewers, and welcome to another episode of Axis of Ideas. And we are recording after quite some time, so apologies for that. And I have with me today Mr. Surajit Dasgupta, a very well-renowned journalist who has tons of experience working across different journals and magazines and newspapers, and is a very staunch voice in the Indic circles. And I would like to have his views today on a very hot topic. The elections in Bengal are up and coming. Now, on my channel, I generally focus only on topics related to global affairs. But since this is a matter very close to my heart, very close to my place, I thought it would be wonderful to speak to someone who has been tracking this up close and personal. So, Surajit, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. How are you?
Thank you, Shatik. Glad to be here. Thank you for calling me. And I'm eager to listen to your questions.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. And this particular campaign that that we're seeing in Bengal unfolding over the past few months. What is the major difference that you see the BJP has adapted since its campaign in 2021? What do you see it's different for them this time?
What is visible on the field, and also the sense that I get by speaking to BJP's senior leaders as well as lower level workers, is that in 2021, they are saying now they made a mistake. And that is something beyond what we already know, which is that giving a lot of tickets to turncoats from the Trinamool Congress. They are not talking about that.
Mhm.
They are talking about a presumption that they had made, which was very natural to make, that they were fighting just another political rival.
Mm.
And it turned out they were actually fighting a mafia. That it is their words, it's not my word, what you call the syndicate in West Bengal. So the preparations for that were not adequate 5 years ago.
Mm.
And it was after learning what a horrible place it is, and where there is, the least possibility of holding free and fair elections. Realizing that, they briefed the Election Commission, and the Election Commission has acted upon that. So it is not only the special intensive revision of the electoral rolls that is happening, but also the CAPF, under which, other than the regular law and order matters, the police are made to report to the central forces in every place, and all kinds of antisocial elements that are generally seen to get hyperactive during the election season, they have been suppressed to a great extent. We are still seeing some very belligerent elements here and there, especially in small towns and villages, but they are constantly being checked, their movement, their activities, and in fact, before the campaign trail heated up, the Central Security Forces, along with Election Commission officials, visited different villages. Almost, I would say they visited all constituencies and assured the voters that this time they could exercise their franchise freely and fearlessly. And a lot many videos you must have seen on social media where you see these officials talking to people at large. And I'm sure that the election this time would be much fairer and freer than what it was 5 years ago, although you cannot rule out every, the possibility of every untoward incident.
So, after the post-poll violence of 2021, and the way the party had reacted at the time by not taking any action, not deploying any central forces, using any central authority, and basically doing some which irked a lot of people, a lot of the supporters, a lot of the voters. How did the party go about convincing the voter this time? Because it would be playing on the back of their mind. Ki bhai, last time though when things heated up, you left us. So how are we to trust you this time?
It's like when an individual gets a very severe shock for some time, there is a numbing sensation followed by a state of trance, and you recover after that. So the BJP, the Bengal unit of the BJP was in that state between 2021 and 2023, at least for 2 years. They were not too sure. They knew they were hit, but what exactly happened wasn't quite dawning on them. So as a result, a few by-elections that happened in the meantime, for example, the by-election with which Shatrughan Sinha got elected, Babul Supriyo got elected as Trinamool Congress's representatives. During those elections, the BJP was struggling to find even polling agents. So that phase, after that phase passed, about some 2 years ago, the organization started rebuilding. Now, we already know that across India, the backbone of the BJP organization is the RSS. Now, even they had got subdued for a while. Just about 2 years or so, they started reorganizing. Vishwa Hindu Parishad started reorganizing. Bajrang Dal started reorganizing. And although there is still some, I would say, lacuna in the coordination between the RSS and the BJP, this time the entire organizational setup is much better prepared than they were 5 years ago.
Okay.
And what I also notice is that as far as the villagers are concerned, just BJP assuring them that nothing bad will happen to them if they voted for the BJP was not going to help. Which is why this thing that I told you, that Election Commission of officials, accompanied by the Central Security Forces and local police forces, are assuring the people of free and fair elections, which is a very positive development. When you see, imagine villagers coming across people in uniform and addressing their woes with all sincerity at their disposal. It creates a different kind of an atmosphere. And as a result, you also see that as you follow the campaign trail, then here and there people are speaking up against the current dispensation, showing the kind of courage which they could not muster in 2021.
Right.
So a lot of people are coming out of the closet. They are saying very clearly who they are going to vote for, and that is not in favor of the Trinamool Congress. They are all anti-incumbent voters. And I am seeing this across the followers of two religions, Hinduism and Islam.
Okay.
Even in Murshidabad and Malda, I see most Muslims quite put off by the way their community has been handled and looked at by the Trinamool Congress just as a vote bank. Even their welfare needs were not taken care of. And Hindus, of course, unlike how they were 5 years ago, now they are displaying a lot of courage, and they are saying clearly that they are going to vote for the BJP. And what has additionally happened is, as far as the surveys and opinion polls are concerned, we hear that on the previous occasion, at least half the Hindu population was either leftist or woke. That has changed. What I am hearing is between 70 and 75% of Hindus are this time voting for the BJP.
So, Surajit, we were just talking about the way the Election Commission has also, reached out to people and assured them that there would be no violence this time. So, you were just continuing on that point.
Yes. So, as I said, that the assurance wouldn't have worked as effectively if only the BJP leaders had assured the people. But here we find that officials, the authorities who are responsible for conducting free and fair elections, they are going accompanied by the security personnel to the voters in every neighborhood, in every constituency, and assuring the people, which has a much grander impact. Even the CEO has been seen visiting different constituencies and assuring people. He is also listening to the woes of those who had voted for the BJP the last time and had to suffer majorly because of that. Just today, I shared some videos on X, formerly Twitter, where a woman broke down saying that her little girl, her daughter, was abducted. And before leaving, the kidnapper said that this is your punishment for voting for the BJP. There is another mother who lost her son. So one incident is of a village and the other of, in the middle of Calcutta, in Bidhannagar constituency, and the other one is in Medinipur. So such things are happening, and which is why I think that the voters must be feeling more assured than they were earlier. And it is not just the assembly election of 5 years ago and now, but also the panchayat elections, the by-elections and other elections that followed. We know that the bloodiest elections of all were the panchayat elections, where several candidates were killed at the doorsteps of the subdivisional magistrate office, where they were about to file their nominations. which even the Calcutta High Court had taken serious note of and rebuked the government, the state government. So all these things put together, I think there is more positivity this time. Added to that, a very common feature of West Bengal elections is that you are intimidated by the ruling party.
Yeah.
Either they come to your house, or on your way to the polling booth that day you are blocked and you're told that your vote has been cast already, you need not bother, go back home. So this time, for example, in the apartments of Kolkata, they are setting up booths right on the ground floor of the apartments so that the residents do not have to walk all the way to a nearby school or anywhere where the elections are being held. So I think all these administrative measures taken together are having a desirable impact on this exercise.
But interesting, a couple of points that you mentioned, and I just want to like share my views as well on them. What you mentioned about people going to the polling booth and মানে ওদেরকে রাস্তায় থামানো হয় যে ভাই তোমার ভোট অলরেডি কাস্ট হয়ে গেছে। an interesting anecdote, মানে আমার मेरा एक कलीग है जहाँ पे मैं भी काम करता हूँ, and he is from a specific community. तो उसके इलाके में जब वो वोट करने गया, ही वाज शेयरिंग, आई थिंक पिछले लोकसभा इलेक्शन में या उससे पहले का विधानसभा इलेक्शन में 2021 में वो वोट करने गया, और उसको उधर पोलिंग एजेंट पहले रोक के बोलता है कि आप कहाँ जा रहे हैं, आपका वोट पड़ गया है ऑलरेडी। तो so I mean, even in those like very specific like booths where it's community specific, votes are heavy, it's managed like that कि भाई आपको वोट करने ही नहीं जाना है, कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है, doesn't matter whether you want to vote that party or not, your vote is already cast. So apart from that, what you mentioned about, there's a certain amount of resentment among the Muslim community as well. And I was watching another interview of a very senior journalist. What he mentioned was like there was this small interview of a Uber driver from the Muslim community who said that कि भाई ये TMC वाले का प्रॉब्लम ये कि हमको वोट बैंक बना के यूज तो किया, बट एक तो हमें कुछ दिया नहीं, ऊपर से दूसरे like, हिंदुओं से हमको वो डिवीजन और बढ़ गया हमारा, एक वो एनमिटी भी बढ़ गया है कि भाई तुम तो उनके लिए वोट करने वाले हो, राइट? सो do you see that there's going to be a split in that vote in that case?
Well, this has to be studied in a calibrated manner. First, let's consider the 3 districts or 2.5 districts that are Muslim dominated. Dominated in the sense that their population is greater than 50% of the overall population. These are Malda, Murshidabad, and Uttar Dinajpur, North Dinajpur. So in these places, the ISF and the Aam Janata Unnayan Party of Humayun Kabir are going to make a dent in the Trinamool Congress's vote bank. So it is even possible that while Malda has always favored the Congress, and therefore the combine of Indian Secular Force or something, ISF, they are called, which is Abbas Siddiqui's party, along with the CPM and Congress, will make a mark in Malda. And in Murshidabad, it will go to the Humayun Kabir's alliance with AIMIM. But as far as the other parts of the, the other 23 districts, overall there are 23 districts in Bengal. As far as the other 21 districts are concerned, there is sizable population of Muslims here and there. In those parts, in the absence of either ISF or the Aam Admi,
whatever it is,
Aam Janata Unnayan Party, in the absence or near absence of these 2 formations, the Trinamool Congress's Muslim vote bank is going to remain more or less intact. So what I see is that the previous performance of Trinamool Congress of having won 91 out of 100 of these seats will not be repeated. That is for sure. It will not be as high as 91 out of 100. It may come down to 80, 75, or even 70.
Okay.
And this is not going to help BJP in a direct way, in the sense that it will in Malda and Murshidabad and Uttar Dinajpur. In these cases, what will happen is that the BJP is benefiting from an overall reduction in Trinamool Congress's number of seats, not vote share per seat. Vote share per seat is going to remain more or less intact outside these three heavily Muslim-dominated constituencies. So that is how things are. The determinant factor this time is, unlike on the previous occasion, and unlike such a long history, unlike what such a long history of the general mentality of Bengali people is concerned. They are secular, they are assimilating, and to them secularism means appeasing Muslims and abusing Hindus. So that kind of Hindus have reduced in number, which is very heartening. And more people, more and more Hindus are getting sensitized to the threat that they face. Because, mind you, there has been also other kinds of activities that have been responsible for this careless or callous nature of Hindu Bengalis. One was that these menacing Muslim activities used to happen more in North Bengal once upon a time. Now, since 2017, that is over the last 8-9 years, we have noticed that all the communal conflagrations that happened in the state were like, if you could map them, you would find they were, or some higher authority of who was controlling them, some higher mastermind, they were kind of encircling Calcutta. So, Dhulagori riots, Boshirhat riots, all these were happening in the suburbs, not in North Bengal, not somewhere near Jalpaiguri or Shiliguri or Kuch Bihar. These were happening very close to Calcutta, the capital of West Bengal, which is why earlier, whereas it was difficult to convince an average Bengali Hindu that your life and your way of living was under threat, it is not so much this time, because the danger is clear and present. The danger is knocking at the door. And this is why BJP isn't having to struggle to convince, to persuade the people that you are facing an existential crisis.
Going back to one of the earlier points that we were discussing, that just say 2021 election pore BJP এরকম action নেয়নি, the central government didn't act, didn't do much, even the state unit didn't get down on the streets, or get down to hand combat with the TMC karyakartas. What I'm also wondering is this like also, say, BJP's vision to kind of, say, end this vicious cycle of political violence in Bengal? Ki bhai, we are not going to take that route. We are going to play within the constitutional framework. Jo bhi hamare paas options available hai. If we get to power, once we get to power, we will structure it in a way ki ye jo ek decade se chala aa raha hai political violence ka ek culture, to reduce that, to diminish that. Do you think that kind of thinking exists in the party?
Well, if one notices the way the BJP faces elections, they actually play a patient and long-term game. They are never in a hurry to wrest the control of a state. It has not happened in any of the states where they are in power right now, especially in states where you see they are struggling to penetrate. Even other places like Tamil Nadu, like Kerala, you have seen how many RSS Swayamsevaks have been killed in Kerala. But in response, the BJP people are not killing CPM people. So that's not happening. And the other demand that many people had raised 5 years ago during the post-poll violence of Bengal is the demand for president's rule. That is also not happening. Because during the 1970s, when the JP movement was on, and a lot of Swayamsevaks and members of the Bharatiya Janasangh, the previous avatar of Bharatiya Janata Party, they were incarcerated or they had to go underground. They had taken a kind of sacred pledge. This is what the BJP leadership tells me off the record. But even on the record, they are never going to commit to imposing the Article 356. So they used to say that if and when we come to power, we will never exercise this option. And that's kind of a legacy that they are living. They are not going to violate that. But this time, the way the election is being conducted, in the heavy presence of the CAPF, it is virtually a president's rule, because a lot many powers that Mamata Banerjee wielded have been confiscated kind of from her. So she does not control the bureaucracy anymore. It is not just the police, but also the bureaucracy that is not completely in her control. And her, the miscreants in her party are also finding it tough. For example, the recent incident where one of the guys had instigated the mob there, and they had held 9 judicial officers hostage. So immediately that guy was held. He was trying to run away, but he was held in another state. And here and there, even other miscreants or henchmen of the Trinamool Congress who have been found intimidating the voters, they have been apprehended. While some of them got out on bail, the message is very clear to the Trinamool Congress and its rank and file that they are not going to get away with murder, unlike what they did 5 years ago.
Right, and this time they've also decided to weaponize Article 311, that all the police, all the law and order authorities who were supposed to be responsible to ensure that riots don't take place, and yet उन इलाकों में सबसे ज़्यादा मतलब damage हुआ. Their reports have been pulled up, and basically they're being dismissed from service completely. Like ऐसा नहीं कि तुमको अभी suspend हो जाएगा, बाद में ममता तुमको बचा लेगी, अभी कुछ नहीं, वो नौकरी गया मतलब गया. So yeah, there is definitely pressure on the authorities to play by the rules. So I think the way I see it, it's quite interesting that BJP has decided, and which is generally their style as well, which you mentioned. But the mistake that they made last time was going toe to toe with trying to go toe to toe with Mamata on her pitch. इस बार what they've decided is कि भाई pitch जैसा भी हो हम अपनी strength से ही खेलेंगे. Doesn't matter if it's a fast bowling supporting pitch. If our strength is spin, we'll play spinners, and then play the best way possible and try and get the result.
There is another big change that I notice in the BJP's campaign vis-a-vis how they fought it 5 years ago, which is why even the last time when in the final moments the BJP manifesto was released, it was full of Hindutva. It was about Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, it was about Swami Vivekananda, etc. But those aspects did not come from the election speeches of Prime Minister Narendra Modi or Home Minister Amit Shah. They were only on paper, on the manifesto. This time, they are going whole hog. They are going, all out Hindutva. And there is no doubt about that. Even if you look at the choice of slogan, it is Jai Shri Ram all the way. It is Paltano Dorkar. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi is no longer referring to Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee either as Didi or any other affectionate name that you can think of. He is calling her government Nirmam Sarkar, cruel government. So the message is very clear, and this is a message also to those fence sitters who were suspecting that maybe there is a backdoor arrangement between these ostensible rivals, which was why nothing happens to Mamata Banerjee no matter what she does. And of course, while there was hard evidence against such a hypothesis, for example, if there is a setting between the BJP and the Trinamool Congress, you wouldn't find BJP's guys hanging from the rooftops. Their corpses hanging from rooftops and branches of trees in villages of Bengal. So if there is a setting, you wouldn't see such murders. And on the other hand, this time, the kind of attacking and aggressive language of both PM Modi and CM Banerjee. I think should be absolutely no doubt lingering in anybody's mind that this is an out and out contest, and there are no two ways about it. There is no backstage management happening here. So this is another big change. Yeah, the language.
Right.
It's not just a language on paper, it's a language in speech as well.
Right. Interesting that you mentioned about BJP's campaign also focusing towards Bengali icons, and this time it's not just on paper, but they're very serious about it as well. I want to talk about something interesting because whenever it comes to Bengali icons, say Rabindranath Tagore, even Raja Ram Mohan Roy, about whom you had written an article quite some time back, clarifying his stand on certain
It was
issues.
actually an article by Rajarshi Nandi. Yeah, it was
Oh
published in
sorry,
Swadharma.
it was by sorry, it was by Rajarshi Nandi ji, and you had shared.
Right.
What is it that you see that the rest of India, and when I say rest of India, I'm more or less referring to the northern side of India, that they don't understand about Bangla or Bengali culture? Because I'm also a Probashi Bengali, if you have to say. So what is your take on this? That you've lived in that region for a long time. What is it, according to you, that they don't understand about us?
Well, Bengal is characteristically different from the rest of the country. And by that, I mean not only North India, but also Western India and Southern India. So there are at least two parts of the country that have a distinct Hindu culture. They are Hindu, but their Hinduism is more complex than the black and white scenario that you see in much of the rest of the country. So what happens as a result is, you need to look at the general constituency of the BJP across India. In northern India, they largely comprise people who have been to Hindi medium schools, who have, been very credulous subscribers of conspiracy theories, such as by Rajiv Dixit, for example. Rajiv Dixit did not belong to the BJP or the RSS, but he had a tremendous impact. His oratory had a tremendous impact. He said things, he spun conspiracy theories which people believed in. And at the time of the UPA government, when he had risen really big time, he was using the platform of Baba Ramdev, his Bharat Swabhiman. And there was, from his stage, he used to, spin conspiracy theories such as Rabindranath Tagore actually wrote Janagana Mana for King George. He said that Ram Mohan Roy was a Christian agent, etc. So these things pervaded in the minds of the people who never had, the kind of gentry you have on social media. They are not the studious kind. They are not scholarly people.
Right.
So if falsehood is bombarded into them repeatedly over the years, then they start finding, semblance of truth. Things like as simple as you do not have to do a very deep research to figure out that these things are false. For example, if you read the entire hymn of Bharato Bhagyo Vidata, only the first stanza of which is our national anthem, there is a eulogy to the mother goddess which ends with the words Snehomoyi Tumi Mata. Now, can King George be Mata? It's as simple as that. King George cannot be mother. So how can it be a dedication to King George? And then even during his lifetime, his very close friend and Irish poet W.B. Yeats had clarified, besides him clarifying that it was only meant for the Indian National Congress's meeting and not for any, any imperial king. Even W.B. Yeats clarified that this is a misunderstanding, this is a misconception, a myth, that he initially wrote it keeping in mind King George. No, he did not. Then you come to the incident of 2019 Lok Sabha election. Right before the last round of elections, a bust of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was vandalized.
Right.
It was desecrated, and it was assumed because people from North India betray this kind of a mindset of very easily, very gullibly believing in conspiracy theories. लोगों ने सोचा इन्होंने ही किया होगा. There was no proof that any BJP guy or RSS guy did it. But given this kind of attitude, people jumped to the conclusion that if anybody did it, it must have been these people.
Right.
So therefore, what happened was, BJP got 18 seats in that Lok Sabha election. It could well have won 22 or 24 seats that time. But a few seats, this incident cost it a few seats because many voters believed they must have done this. Then you consider just even during this election, I find some so-called Hindutva heroes suddenly they have begun to abuse Satyajit Ray. Why should they?
Oh my God!
Where do these idiots come from? Could you not find a more inopportune moment to do these things? Why, for heaven's sake? In 2015, I'll tell you, not quite a similar kind of mistake, but Bihar was going to the polls in November 2015, the time when the NDA lost to the Mahagathbandhan of Nitish Kumar and Lalu Prasad Yadav. At the most inopportune moment, the interview of Mohan Bhagwat on reservations was released. It was an old interview. It could have been withheld, but no, it was released. There was no need to, spark a fresh debate on reservation right before Bihar elections, but it happened. And these stupidities happen before every election. So this is something I wouldn't blame the BJP or the RSS for, but the kind of people who support them have been fed with such conspiracy theories for years and years together. And therefore, anyway, the point is, till the time such things do not come officially from BJP sources, it's safe. Some minister in Madhya Pradesh made a stupid remark. He shouldn't have. But nobody from Bengal BJP said it. Nobody from Central BJP said it. And a very clear message should go out from the central leadership to all its regional stalwarts and leaders. Kam se kam thode dinon tak muh band rakhiye apna.
Yes.
This is very important.
Media management is something that BJP still doesn't get. I mean, the example that you gave about
there is no media management by BJP. There is only social media management. There is no media management.
वो भी कहाँ होता है? तो वो
नहीं, जहाँ तक हो सकता है, they have a formidable presence on social media.
Yeah.
But on media, well, they are as the opposition accuses them of, that now the channels are run by Ambani and Adani. They are owned by Ambani and Adani, so it is pro BJP news. There can be nothing farther from the truth, because at the same time, we also have news outlets like The Wire, The Quint, The Indian Express, The Hindu, The Scroll, and an assortment of foreign channels which are extremely hostile to the BJP, like the BBC, The Guardian, The Telegraph, The New York Times, The Washington Post, Al Jazeera, you name it. A plethora of these channels are 24/7 doing nothing but propaganda against the current dispensation of India. And so there is no reason for the opposition to complain. But yeah, as far as your question of managing the media is concerned, they actually do not have a cell or a wing in the party which does the job. There used to be one at the time of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, but it no longer exists. It was supposed to be reinvigorated during the early years of Mr. Modi's rule, but then the scandal of Me Too broke out against MJ Akbar, who was
Yeah.
supposed to head that wing. And since he became controversial, he had to step down, and that entire initiative was just washed away.
Right. Uh, like regarding social media management as well, like अब होता क्या है कि like let's say Operation Sindoor बहुत मारा पाकिस्तान को, लेकिन फिर narrative वो चला गया हाथ से. But like
Well,
the
that was a
BJP,
different thing.
the voters,
That was a different thing. See,
हाँ,
I'll tell you why this was different. In our country, there are basically spokespersons of political parties. As such, there is no spokesperson of the government. Operation
Right.
Sindoor is an act of the government of India, not the act of Bharatiya Janata Party. Right? So what can the government do? The government can ask the army officials, Navy and Air Force officials to brief the press, which they did very professionally.
Yep.
This time, unlike during the Balakot strike or unlike during Uri, I would say each time they did it very professionally, but each time they also improved on this on the few drawbacks they had displayed the last time. For example, when our defense forces explained how Balakot strike happened, they did not provide any satellite images.
Right.
But during Operation Sindoor, they did. So every time in a retaliatory strike, first of all, when the retaliation for Uri happened in the form of surgical strike, the announcement was made by the DGMO. Then again, that was repeated after the Balakot strike. And the third time, two women officers addressed the press, followed by the heads of each wing of the defense forces, Army, Navy, and Air Force. So all these things were in place. Why it, part of the narrative went against India, and this has nothing to do with BJP or RSS, because this is about India. This is not about any political party. That is because we displayed such extraordinary might on the battlefield. Not only did we decimate the Chinese hardware that were used for Pakistan's defense, but we also damaged their F-16 aircraft. A few had taken flight and few others were still in the hangars. Now, imagine what would happen to the American defense equipment market if this news spread out. So preemptively, they floated the story of downing 7 Rafale aircraft. Whereas even after that, Dassault aviation officials have visited India. They have inspected and said that the entire contingent of Rafale that we had given to India remains intact. So the only lapse in the choice of words, I would say, was on the part of our general, who in an interview said he conceded about the damage to a Rafale aircraft. But damage and downing an aircraft are not the same thing.
Correct.
It's a different thing. Well, if it was damaged, it must have been repaired by now, because that is what the Dassault officials mean when they say that the entire contingent that we had supplied to India remains intact.
Speaking of our neighbors, and in the context of the last couple of months, where the election has been the election season has been picking up in Bengal, and we also had an election in our neighborhood as well. Before that, things were kind of dicey with them. Every now and then there would be some infuriating remarks, not just from the public there, but even from a very well-educated Nobel Peace Prize winning premier of Bangladesh, Muhammad Yunus, who would keep harping on about the 7 sisters. I don't know what he actually meant by sisters. Like, was he talking about the states, or was he just talking about his fetishes? Things have definitely taken a turn since the elections there, and Atikur Rahman coming into power. How do you see the situation developing?
Well, as far as the statements of Muhammad Yunus is concerned, It reminds me of similar statements made by Pakistani generals during the 1965 and 1971 wars.
Mm.
This is a community which always tries to throw more than its weight.
Mhm.
And, when several Pakistani army men were captured and the Indian soldiers tried to extract information from them, a few of them said that, well, we are very low-ranking soldiers of the Pakistan army. We do not know much, but we can tell you this much, that our generals had told us that we will have breakfast in Amritsar and lunch in Delhi. And by the time it is evening, we will have dinner in Kolkata.
Oh, yeah.
So just imagine the audacity. It would put Donald Trump to shame. So a country like Bangladesh, making boisterous and boastful claims like, eyeing the Seven Sisters or India's chicken neck. From what position of power does he say that? It is absolutely ridiculous. And if the Indian forces had been a trigger-happy force, by now, if let's say tomorrow, hypothetically speaking, India decides to, reply to such provocative remarks with action, not with words, what will happen to Bangladesh? Their army is at best glorified police. They cannot face the Indian army. So, and they have so many chicken necks while we have only one. Yeah. They have so many, like Chittagong hill tracts can be easily captured by India, and the entire head of that map can be severed from the rest of Bangladesh within a matter of a week. So this is stupidity, but it has been a saving grace that instead of the Jamatis, the BNP has come to power. And unlike the current Prime Minister's mother, Begum Khaleda Zia, who was not on good terms with India, he seems to be trying to mend bridges with our country, and he wants to begin a new chapter. I would say that partially it was a calculative mistake, a mistake in the calculation of India, that it put all its eggs in one basket. After all, even under the rule of the Awami League, led by Sheikh Hasina, there were many instances of atrocities against Hindus by Muslims.
Right.
And she did nothing about it. So it's not that she was a great friend of India, but yes, she has always been soft in her speech and actions when it came to the bilateral relations with us, which could have been jeopardized by Muhammad Yunus, but fortunately that phase is over.
So do you think that once Atikur Rahman got elected and he had this conversation with India, say we pulled some sort of leverage on them कि भाई देखो तुमको पानी चाहिए, बिजली चाहिए, we can give everything, but उसके बदले में you have to tighten up your internal security and the security around the border area, otherwise भूल जाओ. So do you think something like that might have happened?
See, that is an objective that is difficult to be achieved, to be fair even to the Bangladeshi authorities. What happens is their own border security force, which has a different name, and their rangers, and on that side, and the BSF on our side, they have kind of a tricky situation on the ground.
Okay.
Because there is a section of infiltrators who are, if I may use such a term, well-meaning. That is, they do not infiltrate to stay, they go back immediately. For example, there are shepherds who come here when the pasture is greener on this side. They come with their, animal husbandry, their cattle and all that, and they go back in the evening. That is one section. It is very difficult to keep a count of who is entering and who is leaving. That is one tricky part. The other tricky part is out of the section that comes with nefarious things in mind. A small section of terrorists and the others big section is of economic migrants.
Right.
Now, as far as economic migrants are concerned, West Bengal is not a very good economy. So once they enter India, they do not, find it interesting enough to stay on. So they spread out to other cities like Mumbai, then Bengaluru, Chennai, Ahmedabad, Pune, and all these places, even Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida. So this is a force in transit, and everybody has seen them. Everybody has seen these infiltrators. Even people as far as in Jammu and Kashmir know that there are colonies of Rohingya settlers there. And even the Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri had once acknowledged that Rohingyas have been provided shelter in Delhi. So the issue here is quite complex. It is not as simple as a delegation from Bangladesh coming over and everything settling down. But I hope that all the bilateral agreements that the two countries have signed would be honored, whether it is on the Tista rivers, whether it is on the exchange of enclaves, which happened between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and then Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina. Those things will be honored by Atikur Rahman and whoever comes later, because bilateral relations should not be held hostage to changing domestic political situations in either of the countries.
Right.
That is the convention on which the whole world functions. For example, the BJP was extremely against the civilian nuclear deal between Manmohan Singh and George Bush. But when they came to power, they did not annul that agreement.
Correct.
It is going on. It is hale and hearty. So that is how civilized countries and governments behave.
And I just think that it can't be a coincidence that since this change of power in Bangladesh, we have had a couple of major successes along our eastern border in terms of capturing some nefarious terrorist and antisocial elements. So definitely there is something at play. Baki to, if they want to get frisky at some point, so we have unknown people to take care of such situations.
We are also fortunate that unlike the UPA years, Assam is now ruled by the BJP.
Yes.
With a very proactive chief minister at the helm, Himanta Biswa Sharma. Tripura is with the BJP.
Right.
And several other northeastern states are ruled by NDA, of which BJP is an essential part.
Yes.
So for all these secessionist activists and militants and terrorists that used to operate in and around Nagaland and Manipur, there wasn't much of a problem with Mizoram. There hasn't been since Rajiv Gandhi's era. And these two troubled spots have also been handled quite well. Myanmar does not protect its borders very well, I think. And they do not even perceive a threat from India, which is why any kind of surgical strike on the Eastern Front is also not a very challenging task, unlike a surgical strike into Pakistan. So that also helps. I think overall the situation in the Northeast is quite assuring for a patriotic Indian.
And I believe that Bengal will be that last piece of the puzzle to secure the complete Eastern Front.
It's the last frontier to be won, whether it is about fencing the still unfenced part, or the West Bengal government's not only appeasement but connivance with infiltrators to change the face of the country. All that thing will be stopped. It is of utmost national importance that the BJP wins this election.
Right. And as I mentioned, if some miscreants begin some sort of activities, just like Osman Hadi tried, they can be taken care of. I think Osman Hadi passed out in the most Bangladeshi way, like being shot in the rickshaw. that was the most Bangladeshi style of assassination that one can imagine. Speaking of which, did you watch Dhurandhar? I think I can imagine you've already watched. How did you like it?
Well, I liked it better than the first part.
Okay.
There was only one thing. There is only one thing about Dhurandhar Part 1 and 2, which I had pointed out during Part 1 also, that was taken care of to a certain extent in Part 2, but that glitch still remained, which was of languages, because all the actors, especially Arjun Rampal, even Rakesh Bedi, I would say, though he is a Punjabi, and other actors couldn't quite speak Urdu in the Pakistani accent.
Right.
And when you are showing a spy movie, a violent spy movie, where the moment your lid is blown off, your cover is gone, you are dead.
Right.
So in such a scenario, it is absolutely important. It is the basic necessity that you speak that language. But except for that aspect, there are so many things so wonderful about Dhurandhar. As Ram Gopal Verma has said, that Aditya Dhar has changed the grammar of filmmaking. You know, the things like which took even him aback. Because, you know, what does Ram Gopal Verma stand for? Forget about which films of his you liked or you did not like. Try to recall the experience of watching Shiva in 1990. I don't know. You were very, much younger than me, how old you were then. But I watched it when I was in college. And what is the different thing I noticed? One thing, that stood out in the film Shiva, and Ram Gopal Verma is the pioneer of introducing that Hollywood-like art in India, which is during the action sequences, there was no background music.
Okay.
There was only, you could see shadows in the backdrop of the night. You could see punches and kicks thrown in, only the sound of that.
Okay.
You saw very strange camera angles, not like, focusing on a face so that it looks beautiful. So things like that. Then the development of negativity before positivity starts. That's very important. If you want to show a very dreadful villain and a very successful hero, you have to first project the villain as grimly as possible.
Right.
So these are the things that Ram Gopal Verma introduced. What did Aditya Dhar do? He went a step further. According to Ram Gopal Verma, when he discussed this with Aditya Dhar, that how come your film continues after the climax? He said that, who told you that is the climax? That, according to me, was not the climax. It is my decision that the film must continue after that. And just think of how powerful that scene is, where Jaskirat Singh Rangi returns home.
Oh my God!
And he finds his mother and sister from a distance. He feels like going and declaring his back home.
Yeah.
But he realizes that they have moved on, and the time when he was with them was a very painful chapter of their lives. So you look at Ranveer Singh's expressions in that scene. It's beyond description.
Yeah, absolute masterclass. It reminds me of what R. Madhavan had said at the premiere, or the launch of the first part, that this movie will end an entire genre of other movies.
Absolutely.
And that was a spot-on prediction, because people had been waiting hungrily for this movie, for such a movie where the reality of ISI and Raw's rivalry, or the enmity is actually shown. वो वही बार-बार Raw ISI का love story, like people used to watch it. Those movies did business, but they saw it because और कोई options नहीं थे. When one famous YouTuber said that अगर तुमको ज्यादा दिक्कत हो रही है ऐसी movies, तो जाओ अपनी movie बना लो. तो बना ली लोगों ने, and people are lapping it up,
laughable comments were made against the film. The most laughable was, it's a violent movie. You expected a rom-com from a spy movie? What do you mean by it was very violent and you couldn't digest so much of gore?
For me, sorry, yes.
It's ridiculous. What do you expect from such a movie?
For me,
Then
the
they're
funniest
calling
thing
it
was,
propaganda. You just think about all the incidents, very real life incidents shown in it.
yeah.
The IC-814 hijack in Kandahar, the attack on Parliament House,
Yes.
26/11, the Pakistanis using the same paper for making their currency notes that is made in India, the Dalaru company. So many incidents up to demonetization. Everything happened in actual life. And despite all that, if you say this is propaganda, you are a rank idiot, you are illiterate. You never read news. You never read newspapers or followed news on television. What do you mean propaganda? There has rarely been a film that showed so much of reality. The only thing where the director exercised creative license was in making the story of Jaskirat Singh Rangi.
Yeah.
Well, but it could have been somebody else. And it is certainly not the, army officer whom a section of the critics are saying it is actually based on his life. No, it is not. Because for such operations, army officials are not used.
Correct.
Aditya Raj Kaul, the journalist who helped Aditya Dhar in the research for these two films, he has been on record saying that it is not based on him. So where is the question of propaganda? You are assuming things on your side about the film and then saying, well, my assumption did not come true.
Correct.
Which is why this film is propaganda. This is ridiculous.
For me, the funniest thing was when Dhruv Rathi said that, "Dekho, bhaiyo."
मैं तो उसको देखता ही नहीं, वो है कौन?
I don't watch it either. I just saw his clip on Sham Sharma's show because I feel very bad for Sham Sharma because he has to watch that to make his content.
No, I'm talking about mainstream media journalists.
Yeah. So
Anupama Chopra and all that.
Yeah. He said that the government of India has never officially acknowledged that we have sent spies across Pakistan. So this is, अरे भाई,
उससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है?
Covert operation
no country does. Well, no country does. Does the United States say that it backs the Aam Aadmi Party? It does not. but we know for sure that a very tiny event in Jantar Mantar that happened in 2011 was blown out of proportion. And Arvind Kejriwal and company were projected as revolutionaries. Who was behind all that? It was the CIA.
Yeah.
But then if CIA or the United States or the Pentagon or the White House or the Capitol Hill does not acknowledge that this was our operation, does it become false? Of course we did it, but we will never acknowledge it officially.
I want to gauge the impact of Dhurandhar after this new YRF movie Alpha comes. I want to see how many people actually go to see that.
Well, nobody will watch that because just after the second part of Dhurandhar, there was another film that came out, and despite the recent death of Dharmendra, nobody watched that film.
Yeah.
Because it was so much of soft peddling and mollycoddling going on there. It was far from the truth. And one incident, I actually was aware of the incident of the retired Indian officer meeting a retired Pakistan official and Pakistan army official, and he confessing that it was I who killed your son. And I knew that story. It's a real life story. But the way it was handled, it was like a meeting between two senior citizens in the evening of their lives, when so many things have affected them so far. The atmosphere was entirely different during 65 and 71. And finally, when the Indian soldier came to know that his son was killed by this very Pakistani official whose hospitality he had enjoyed, you cannot spin it out of the way to make up a story of India, Pakistan, bonhomie. It does not work like that.
Right.
So similarly, YRF's efforts will fall flat on its face.
Well, on that note, I would like to conclude today's discussion. Surajit, thank you so much for taking so much time to have this conversation with me, and I hope to speak with you again sometime. The election heat is just picking up, so I'm sure there will be a lot more to talk about going forward.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you
so
very
much, sir.
Thank you.
Goodbye.